I'll spring the old bedroom quiz on them.
Daddy, what are you doing here?
Well, it's quiz time. Wadi Suicidalists, here be Friday, and I'm back with a good word on a new review for you. This week we're going to take a look at one that's been on my radar for quite some time now. I've been meaning to check out probably since I saw the first trailer for it last year at some point, actually. This one homes in on a few items, devices, well-worn plot devices that I typically find individually in movies here and there, but at this one it crams them all into one picture. It has juvenile delinquents, and it has music, and it's got sci-fi B-movie drive-in qualities to it, without actually being a sci-fi B-movie drive-in from the days of yore. It's the Ghastly Love of Johnny X, and it's coming at ya. Johnny Xavier, a juvenile delinquent from outer space, and his gang of ghastly ones are exiled from their home planet to the planet Earth as punishment for being horrible, until the day that Johnny can commit a selfless act that will transport him and his gang back home. But as it turns out, Johnny and his gang love raising hell on Earth. Now, when Johnny's girl Bliss breaks up with him and makes off with his resurrection suit, which is this device that allows him to control and manipulate anybody that he wants to, Johnny sets out across the desert to find her, and he finds her in the arms of a totally square soda jerk who has completely fallen in love with her. Now, meanwhile, wild rock and roller Mickey O'Flynn, the man with the grin, has disappeared in the days leading up to his big revival concert. But as it turns out, he is in fact dead. Now, when Mickey O'Flynn's manager, King Clayton, meets Johnny and finds out that Johnny has this device that allows him to control another person, even a dead person, a plan is hatched. A crazy scheme. But crazy schemes have a way of going wrong, don't they? But we also find out why Johnny has such a hard-on for the planet Earth. And in the meantime, there is a ton of singing and dancing. For a movie so hell-bent on recapturing the good old days of drive-in B-movie schlock, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X has an awful lot going on in it. Maybe a little too much for its own good. But first, the good stuff. I have a real soft spot for revival cinema. I grew up watching the Creature double feature on Channel 56 in Boston, and that show had a really large role in creating the person who now stands here before you. I was also reminded several times of the movie Phantom of the Paradise. It zeroes in on a lot of the same qualities that make that movie so much fun to watch. Similarly, I was reminded of other recent B-movie revivalists like Atomic Brain Invasion and The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. The Ghastly Love of Johnny X is an awful lot like a Misfits song come to life, one of the good ones. Will Keenan turns in a very solid performance as Johnny X. He's charismatic and he's very funny. He really captures the essence of the era. He does a really great job, and he plays young extremely well for a guy who's older than I am. The cast also turns up a few other notable players, people who are rather surprising to be found in a movie like this. Reggie Bannister, icon of horror from the supremely awesome Phantasm sequel, turns up as King Clayton. Creed Bratton, who you might know from The Office, plays Mickey Flynn, the man with the grin. There's Kevin McCarthy, who was Dr. Miles Bennell in the original Invasion of the Bodysnatchers, and the ultimate King of Schmaltz, the unholy pairing of Greg Allman and Dr. Zaius. Paul Williams turns up. He wrote a bunch of hits for the Carpenters in the 70s, The Rainbow Connection. He also plays Swan in the aforementioned Phantom of the Paradise. While the ride is in motion, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X mostly works. It's funny, it really captures the aesthetic of the era that it's going for, but the movie does have a few problems. A part of the movie's draw is the musical aspect of the movie. The trailer highlights a number of these song and dance routines. And this is supposed to be a rip-roaring juvenile delinquents movie of Arch Hall proportions, but these musical numbers really lack punch. A lot of them are these slinky, jazzy numbers, and they really should have been wild and raucous, like something along the lines of Get Crazy, but most of the time it's like West Side Story on downers. I can't really fault director Paul Bunnell for trying, though, because you don't often see independent movies with original music and choreographed dance numbers, so it's go big or go home, I guess. At the same time, the script is inconsistent. It's never entirely clear what's going on from moment to moment. No one in the cast, apart from Johnny X, is entirely memorable, and our unlikely hero, Chip the Soda Jerk, is so dopey that he's just impossible to get behind. There are also several points throughout the movie when it's not really clear who the bad guy is. At first it's Johnny X, then maybe it's Mickey O'Flynn, or is it? Later on it's Sluggo, and then everybody's motivations are so scattershot that it's a little tough to keep track of. I mean, is Johnny out to get his girl back? Is he out to get his suit back? Because a little ways into the movie, that plot point just becomes completely irrelevant. Are they trying to go home? It's never clear. Things are just so zany and so numerous, and coupled with just a string of really lackluster musical numbers, it's really easy about halfway through to kind of stop giving a shit about what's going on. The Ghastly Love of Johnny X. It's as quirky and original as an independent movie should be. It really manages to capture the fun and what the fuck vibe of any given sci-fi movie riffed by Mystery Science Theater 3000. There's a couple of real gems in the cast with Will Keenan and Reggie Bannister, but the movie falls flat in a couple of spots where it really should be soaring, mostly in the music department. A lot less jazzy, space-age bachelor pad music, and a lot more grease would have made this movie a home run. Also, had the crazy, zany script been trimmed by about 20 minutes, this would have been an A+, but instead it's strictly middle-of-the-road B-movie schlock revival piece that should have been a lot more fun than it was. So what do you think? Is The Ghastly Love of Johnny X the kind of movie you might recommend to someone? Let me know down in the comments. Also, is there anything you want to see reviewed? Let me know. Something you think I really ought to be keeping my eye on. Don't be shy, put it in the comments. There's a lot more fun to be had outside the YouTube show. Check us out on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Tumblr. And if you have not yet done so, please take a minute to check me out on Patreon. And consider supporting the show. Your support for Cinema S would go a long way in terms of the show's production. As always, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you next Friday.
It's like you're riding in a beat-up truck, but the beat-up truck won't go.